All right, guys, fired right out of a cannon, and welcome into a episode 2 edition of Catching Up with Coach. A little bit of a change up here yet again on the Fourth and One pod for you guys. We are going to give you a live look here at the number one focused on stadium here in college football this week, as we obviously know that Georgia and Ole Miss are going to be playing this week, and that is 100% going to be where we focused all of our time, where we focus our energy and effort going forward as far as our bets are concerned, and then certainly what we're going to talk about here today. But that is not going to distract us from talking about what I think is the most important topic of discussion today, which is going to be, and now that I have the YouTube stream caught up with everything, thank you, God, because we don't have a technical manager yet on the show because we don't want to pay one. Yeah, that is not going to distract me from the topic of conversation of what is by far and away going to be talked about the most. I'm going to get asked about it. I've been asked about it. I'm sick and tired of answering the question. The SEC officiating. Okay, so for those of my Big 12 and my Pac 12 and my ACC and my Big 10 fans, I need you to go ahead and just put your blinders on real quick and listen to Uncle Trey for a second. I am not a tinfoil hat fella. I'm not. I call balls and strikes, like you guys know. I have my own biases as a fan. I'm certain that you guys are not unaware of the fact that we do at times look through the lens of who it is that we're used to watching. I've watched every Alabama football game for probably the better half of 10 or 11 years now. Obviously paid attention before then, but I like really watching. There's a reason why other people think that Bama get the benefit of the doubt with their officiating. They get called for things just like everybody else does. So it's not really fair to say that they get favoritism until you see things like what we saw last week happen. Apparently, the SEC got back to Brian Kelly and said that the hit on Jaden Daniels did not meet the criteria for targeting. And then, of course, the first comment says the league office that's located where again, question mark, obviously alluding to the fact that it's located in Birmingham, which is in, altogether now, Alabama. I get it. I understand. When you put players' health at risk, that's where I have a problem with it. Am I here today to tell you that Dallas Turner is a dirty player? No, I'm not. Am I sitting here trying to tell you that he deserves to be kicked off the team? No, I'm not. Am I saying he should lose his NIL money? No, I am not. Am I saying that he deserves to not be drafted first round and make life-changing money and take care of his life and maybe his future children, his family, and all those things? He's worked incredibly hard to get where he is. He's a tremendous player. I'm sure he's got character, grit, and all those things. It's a dirty play. You did it on purpose. You did it several other times. I don't know what else there is to say. He would tell you that he did it on purpose because I would want my team to take a shot at the other team's quarterback. You're trying to create a big play. You obviously don't want to hurt anybody. I know he didn't intentionally try to hurt Jaden Daniels and hit him and hit him out of the game, but he did do it, and he did hit him like that hard on purpose. So don't ask me about it. Don't put it in the comments. Don't make me talk about it anymore. I'm literally going to have heartburn. I can feel it. I'm getting close. The watch is about to tell me to chill out here in a second. So I'm done talking about it. Let it be over. What I want to say fundamentally about the game and be done with this game, because I continue to still get DMs and questions and texts about it because of where we live and whoever. Kevin Smith says he didn't mean to do it. Who's to say? What I'll tell you is that I'm not really sure how you survive this kind of. Like you can suck on defense when you play Grambling. You can't suck on D when you play in the primetime game of College Game Day and it's against Bama to maybe have your hopes and go to the West and do it. Can you make the argument that LSU is better than Alabama? You could. I'd probably disagree with you. That's why I picked Alabama to win. I'm not really saying that I would ever predict LSU to win, but everything had to go perfect in order for them to win, and they didn't do it. You made mistakes on offense where you couldn't. You dropped balls that you couldn't make. You didn't. There's a couple of, if you want to get technical, a couple of plays here and there that you maybe wanted Jaden to make and he didn't. hard to complain because he's the best player in college football right now. But your defense is horrid. And your inability to understand game flow and what's happening and how to pivot is despicable. I'm not telling you I'm smarter than the man in the headset. I'm obviously not, else I'd be the coach. I'm 27 years old and I'm a medical sales rep. But I have played enough high school football and middle school football and watched enough football in my life to know that when something's not working, you don't continue to do the same thing and expect a different result, because that's the definition of, here we go again, all together now, insanity. Your best player is playing the slot corner, or rather, is playing the nickel. Rather, your Harold Perkins is playing corner and he's in coverage. The one play you put him, or the two plays rather that you actually put him as a spy, he gets a sack, makes him punt, and then gets the tackle behind line of scrimmage, and it's a fourth down, and they get you for holding. And Will Campbell did hold. He was holding all night. You're lucky they didn't call it more. Look, hats off to Alabama. I told you they were the best. They were going in the game. They should have been favored. I liked them and the points just because I felt like it was a field goal game kind of thing. And even if they would have played a shitty game and come down to it, they still could have kicked. Well, no one would have told me that both kickers would have missed identical field goals. Didn't see that coming. It wasn't on my bingo card. But the better team won. Call it what it is. They were the better team that day. Maybe they're the better team overall. That was the best defensive backfield game I've seen from them all year. Their communication was off the freaking charts. But anyway, to move on from that, this game means a whole lot. The one that you're looking at right now, it's going to be played at Sanford Stadium. You're going to see Georgia's best. If you want me to get away and you want me to pivot right quick on where my money's going this week, you're going to see Georgia's best. You're going to see me play Georgia this week, because we're away from fading Georgia. We're away from, getting them at the favoritism at home type of thing. They're getting 10.5. You don't mean it. You don't think that Georgia can beat Ole Miss by 2 tutties? You don't think that LSU could have beat Ole Miss by 2 tutties if they wouldn't have had the historically worst defense in the entire history of their school? You don't think that Alabama coming back, winning and covering against Ole Miss is good enough for Georgia to win by 2 tutties? Now, if you want to also have a discussion with me and tell me, do you think that Ole Miss can come in here and blow doors off of somebody and keep it close and win the damn thing? I'd be the first person to tell you that they could do it. Why? Because it's college football. I've seen it happen. But there's more things going on in the Ole Miss locker room right now than I care to talk about. The tapes came out about what Lane Kiffin told, the player and mental health. To be honest, kind of told the kid what was up. There's things you can and can't say to people, and sometimes people are unwilling to admit when they're wrong. I think that the young man is obviously going through some things, and we certainly send up prayers for that, but you have to be better communicative with your coach. I think that there's probably a bit of disconnect there. Lane actually, kind of name calling a little bit. Like, it's football, dude. Like, if you're a college football player, like, you expect to be cussed at. I'm just sorry. Like, I'm, and that's just from the information that I know. There may be more information that comes out to make me change my mind, but based on what I heard, it sounds as though Lane wanted to talk to his player, and his player said kick rocks. So, as I see it, I see that Mizzou came out and gave Georgia more than what they wanted. You can make a case to me today that Mizzou is the story of, could you say the story of at least this side of the hemisphere in college football? You could certainly say the story of college football, but I think Colorado would have probably taken that. Well, that is until they've lost 4 straight, or 3 straight, whatever it's been. I mean, I think a lot of things have to happen for Georgia to not cakewalk into the SEC championship. And to be honest with you, win or lose that, I mean, I'm just saying, I think it's going to be a weird playoff. But again, I like Georgia in the game. I'm not 100% that I love the 10 and a hook. Like, I'd feel a little bit better if it was like 9.5, 10.5. I'll tell you one that's giving me a shock, and this is going to be a Trey. I'm going to go ahead and give you this play today. I'm going to do some studies on this to make sure. And when I say studies, I mean like deep diving on numbers. But without looking, the wrong team is favored in Tennessee at Mizzou. Tennessee is favored by 2 on the road at Mizzou. Why? Why? What? Why? Why are they favored on the road? They're favored. I don't know if there's an injury somewhere. But if I had to play that today, I'd play Mizzou money line and grab a brew. I would do it and parlay it with a Georgia rushing over because Ole Miss's defense hasn't shown you that they want to stop anybody from Georgia. You think Ladd McConkey can't go on his receiving over with Ole Miss's DBs right now? But in reality, if you want to take the total in Ole Miss and Georgia, then you just go ahead and do it because Coach said so. But whatever. I think the wrong team is favored. I've seen this movie before. I've seen this script. Utah at Washington 9.5. I don't love that number. 9.5 is a lot. If anything, the only reason why I think it'd be that high is because Utah has been pretty suspect on the road, and that's a really nice Christian way of me saying that they've been bad on the road. In USC at Oregon with looks like is that excuse me? Just gonna go ahead and check that number real quick before I lie. 15. Okay. USC can cover 15. I'm not telling you to play that. If any of these, I'd play Mizzou money line, or maybe Georgia in the points, but maybe we'll make a little parlay out of that. But we'll see. Check the X for game time tickets. Something else that I want to talk about is when we get into the business of Heisman, contention. We've talked about this kind of in the past with Russo, who, by the way, is on his way right now to the airport. He should be on the road right now. Obviously not, inebriated at all. But he's actually heading up to Nashville for the weekend. So for all of my folk that live up in Nash, if you go ahead and you see Russo out, you see Russi out in public, a wild and free roaming Russo, you go ahead and buy him a beer and tell him Coach sent you by. But the one nug I'll say about the Heisman is that it's all about what you did right before sometimes, and not really so much the full body of work. And that's not fair. It doesn't really go to the best player. Unfortunately, it becomes to the best player on the best team, which is kind of why you saw like some Max Duggan get some run. You kind of heard me mention that a couple weeks ago. That's kind of why you heard me mention what exactly needed to happen in order for Jaden Daniels to win. A 3-loss team to get a Heisman Trophy winner is going to be pretty difficult nowadays because it's all about the clout. It's all about the hype of what you did and your team doing it with you. Same thing with Malik Neighbors and the Biletnikoff. I mean, everybody and their grandmother is going to obviously talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. going to get that award, even though the numbers clearly speak for Malik Neighbors, and you can even make a case Luther Burden too. I mean, my God, I mean, there's very little separating the two of them, and the numbers between them and Marvin Harrison Jr. is I mean, it's not a chasm, but there's a gap. And you could maybe say that's a product of who they've played. You can maybe say that's, they've ran the ball more. I really haven't checked the numbers on that to know. But from the body of work perspective, it seems as though it's kind of like a popularity thing. And obviously the team that wins the whole thing usually ends up winning more awards than anybody anyway. So that's why you're obviously going to see some different people get some run. You're going to see Jalen Milroe get run for the Heisman. His odds are going to come down. People are going to bet on him. And if they end up beating Georgia, then his odds are going to be at like 4-1 probably. For someone that got benched and had to be brought back, are we really going to call him the Heisman? Like he was great against the worst defense in the SEC outside of Vanderbilt and maybe Florida. And now all of a sudden we're going to crown him Heisman. Like I've heard that run on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I'm out on that. And I feel good about the money that I've put down on it. If I had to vote today, it'd go to Jaden Daniels. Right behind him is Michael Penix. I mean, right behind him is Michael Penix. There is obviously the picks and the plays, the yards per play that have to be taken into effect. But if Washington continues to do what they're going to do, Michael Penix is going to win the Heisman. I mean, J.J. McCarthy's obviously going to get run because he's on Michigan, and they are going to dog walk people. They've got that they're at Penn State's crib, and they're favored on the road 4.5. I don't hate 4.5, by the way. That's a weird hook, but I don't hate it. I could see where that might have been like maybe 5.5, 5 to start. Maybe some Penn State love gets it down, but on the road 4.5, it's weird. And we're not even going to get into what Michigan has on their plate right now on the off the field. But from a lens of betting, right? Because this is what the show is meant to be. As far as the 4th and 1 pod, obviously this is kind of a little bit, different of a divvy because we're catching up with Coach. But I think if you're going to get into the business of putting your money on something, and we can bring it up if you want to right now. This is not the typical show. So you are good. Let's see here. Get you some Heisman updates right now. I want to go ahead and tell you that they've probably dropped within the last 48 hours. They usually move a little bit once the lines and stuff start to come out. Let's go ahead and see. Wow, this is not good for the visuals here. Let's go ahead and get it. All right, here we go. Yeah, so they dropped them all the way out. Dang. So Jaden Daniels dropped down. Okay, so you got Michael Penix at 160, Bo Nix at 160, Jordan Travis, LOL, at 800, Carson Beck at 1,200, Jesus, J.J. McCarthy at 1,500, Marvin Harrison at 15, Jaden at 2, Jalen Milroe at 4. Look, Bo Nix getting run right now is crazy too. Wow. Penn State can't score. Their offense is horrible. I agree. That's why I like Michigan. I watched that game with Ohio State. Horrible. Not that they can't score, they just can't do it efficiently. I had somebody tell me the other day, you would think this is funny. I had somebody the other day tell me how historic of a game would it be for LSU to play Iowa this year? To have that offense roll against their defense and that offense roll against that defense. Oh my God. I'd pay handsome. But to try to put a button on it, because I really don't want to keep you guys waiting too long. There is absolutely nothing changing with the show. It has just come down to schedule, frankly. Russo and I have kind of deviated by giving you guys a little bit of a spider web technique, if you will. Obviously, we've got our different connectors, and then we've got the main hub with 4th and 1. This is kind of something that we wanted to do for a long time, give each our own space to kind of like share our thoughts and then collaborate together, obviously, whenever our schedules do align. But this is obviously a branch of the 4th and 1 podcast. And so we do want to continue to keep this as a betting prowess show. But as far as catching up, like I have to call it as I see it. And so certainly we're going to have, a lot of Big Ten and SEC talk because that is obviously the closest region to us. But as you all know, we're going to cover the ACC and the Pac-12 as we see fit. Same thing with the Big 12. The problem with the Big 12 is that there's just no clear-cut winner right now. I think Texas and Oklahoma are kind of in like a piss fest for like who can ruin their own season before getting to the end of the year, before Oklahoma State tries to walk their way through the back door. I think I just feel like we're going to have such a incredible time with the new playoff system next year. If anybody is to disagree with that, I would hear it. You can't tell me that you wouldn't want to go and see 12 teams battle it out like every other sport known to mankind to decide who needs to be, like, who's going to be the best, who's going to have the full complete body of work, not who's had the best body of work for 12 or 13 weeks, and then a panel of idiots decide in a room who deserves to be there because of a defensive piece. Like, what are we talking about? Like, The fact that this panel of people are deciding who is to go to the college football playoffs, and if you go and read the list, I don't know if they still do this, but if you could go back and read the list of the people who are on the panel and who decide these things, it's like the AD at Northern Vermont, who specialized in criminal studies, is deciding on if Ohio State or Michigan is more deserving of the number 3 spot. What the hell are we talking about? Get lost with that for me. I am so far and beyond whatever that show is. I only cover it because we have a show to do. Like, we have a show to do and information to give out and people to talk to and things to see and games to discuss. So the only reason why I'm tuning in at the end of and when I say the end, I mean like the end, Bubba, we're at the end of it, is to just see what exactly it is that I could argue and complain about this week, because holy crap, is it bad? Like, again, I understand it. You have to pay bills. The TV window's there. Why not make a big deal out of it? Obviously, everybody's going to tune in for the first 3 minutes, see where their team's at, and then go to Twitter and complain and then turn it off and go watch other football. I get it. But bruh, that's so stupid. So bad. It's so bad. And last and certainly not least, I just want to give a big, massive shout out and a big, hearty middle finger to the NCAA. Congratulations, because you are by little every single week, little by little every week, going to have less to do and to say on the matter with these teams, these schools, the people that transfer, and the kids, because it is gross that these kids have reasons to go and play at other schools, and you are standing in the way and on top of their hopes and dreams because you want to implement your pound of flesh based on your absolute situational bias to the university, their coaches, and the people that pay their bills. It is despicable that we're still talking about this in week whatever, in year whatever, that the NCAA is a nameless and faceless cult of people that have absolutely no integrity whatsoever. And the fact that they are the people that get to have decisions made over children that just want to do well by themselves and by others, in 95% of cases, I'll say, the fact that you think that you're getting one right by deciding that a kid can't play because he left because his coach got fired and he's trying to transfer to another school is ridiculous. Kids that have hardship waivers and people that went through COVID and people that were locked in their homes and couldn't leave and didn't know what to do and couldn't go home and couldn't see their families and crap, and they have homesickness and want to go back to their schools and play, and you're going to give them the middle finger and say, go study English for a year, kid. You can get back next year. Have a beanie. Take the gear. You're good. You don't have to play. Like, I'm so over it. And again, here we go. Trey, it seems as though you're experiencing an episode. Yeah, I thank you, British Siri. I appreciate it. Whatever, man. I'm so over the NCAA. I cannot wait for a 12-team playoff. I can't wait for playoff games to be played at home. Schools will benefit from this immensely. You're going to have less people opt out and look to the end to the Sunday game. You're going to have more people interested for longer in the college football instead of this bowl situation where your people are canning out because they don't want to watch the Gator Bowl because their team had 4 losses or whatever. And now maybe a team with 3 losses or 4 losses or 2 losses or whatever the case ends up in that top 12, and they have a chance to go back and get revenge and go and play the 1 seed. And who knows what happens, and turns the whole thing upside down. And if you really are the best team, go out and win it. So and save me the trouble, because I've already gotten a text like in the middle of the show. Well, what happens whenever it waters down the regular season? When is the regular season going to get watered down? Do you not remember 3 years ago, whenever the Egg Bowl happens and we have fake dogs pissing on the pylon and the Egg Bowl happens and people are in the end zone storming the field and crying? You mean to tell me that a 12-team playoff is going to automatically minimize that for people? What are you talking about? It's like It's those kind of things that make me want to have this show. It's those kind of reasons and these in people's ideas and the things that they think about that make me want to do this show and make me appreciate this show. And I am obviously pretty hot blooded right now because I just got off of a really long Twitter thread about just in general the NCAA, a 12-team playoff, and all these things. And my blood pressure is through the roof. And I'm also highly caffeinated because I am 1,000% behind on my work emails and my regular job. Why? Because I'm sitting here putting a parlay of games together for Saturday for this show because this is what I love. But to summarize everything, yes, the sky is not falling. Yes, the Heisman is not decided yet. And yes, we are going to continue the show on the regular schedule just based on the fact that Russo is going to get lit in Nashville. Obviously, we had to pivot a little bit. So with that being said, we're going to call it. I really appreciate it, and I love you guys. Obviously, please, if you don't mind, give us a share, like and a share. That's all we ask for. I'm not really going to do the whole bag thing, but obviously, if you subscribe to us, it obviously puts us up on your recommended feed and gives us a little bit more views, and will help us to kind of spread the word and maybe do this a little bit more of a on a consistent basis as far as doing more things with the show, having different people on and things of that nature, which we are working on that really strong for year 3. And coming in the next year, we'll have a little bit different of a platform for that. But as far as, what we do in that meantime and the fluff kind of in the middle is really what we're focusing on. So with that, we're going to put a button on it. 100% going to be locked in. So obviously check the X, check the Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and check the YouTube page for all those things. TikTok as well. We're starting to try to figure out how we're going to go about that with the social media content. It's a little bit difficult with, collaborative ideas and again, with just our day jobs, but we're working on it. And certainly extremely pleased and privileged and blessed to be here. For those of you that do tune in every week, text into the show and obviously give us your feedback, not just our family and friends, but people that we've actually met throughout doing the show. So thank you guys for that. And I love you so much. And if there's anything that I can ever give you advice on, it is to absolutely put your heart on the line for college football because it's worth it. It's the best game that there is. There's nothing close to it. Nothing's better. And so with that being said, we're going to call it. Thank you guys so much. Peace and love, baby. We're out.